Yes. So whenever we're talking about receptive skills like listening and reading, they are almost the same in the way we teach them. Do you agree? Yeah, like we usually have a reading, then listening and reading for gist, then we move to reading or listening in detail, and then we have some like maybe specific information like task, and then we end such types of lesson with a follow-up discussion or a follow-up writing task. So they are the same, but when we compare productive skills, writing and speaking, they are different. So let's try to find out in what ways they differ, why we need to teach writing, because usually we do not have a lot of writing skills, actually, a lot of writing tasks. Actually, that was the reason why I asked who observed a lesson that included a writing task, and what makes writing difficult for students, or maybe why writing is easier than speaking. So you have three questions, and I suggest we regroup you. And we have 16 people, so I guess we can have 4 groups to discuss these 3 questions. Do you see the questions in the worksheet? Yeah, so we have 3 questions, so let's have not more than 3 minutes. But whenever you're ready, you can come back to the main session. All right? Ready? Okay, but think about writing as a productive skill. Let's go. Come back. Come back. Okay. Yes, okay, everyone is here. Like, remember, we are talking about writing as a productive skills, not about teaching writing. Yes, now we're focusing on writing itself. Okay, so how does writing differ from speaking as a productive skill? Who is ready to answer? Any volunteers? Not about teaching, but about writing itself, how it differs.
Well, I think because speaking is spontaneous and writing is more planned, I would say, because we first like just write down some ideas, then we can like go back to our ideas and correct something, like, you know, but when speaking, we can't really go back and correct ourselves. But from the other point of view, when we are speaking, we may make some mistakes and it might not be so noticeable, but when we are writing, and we need to be very careful with the mistakes, like grammar mistakes or some articles, like, because it's there. If we write it and like we can't really, after we, let's say, give it to our teacher, we can't really correct it, and for the teacher, it will be noticeable that we made a mistake in some grammar topic or something like that.
Mm-hmm. And like about the mistakes, when we speak, do we have a choice to correct ourselves? Like at the same second?
Well, maybe the same second, but maybe if it's been more than like a few seconds, it's going to be funny and we're going to look silly if we're going back to some mistake. So
Yeah, but when we make a slip, yes, slip of tongue, we
yeah,
can really fast, and like maybe the teacher or other people will not even notice that. Okay, anything to add? Thank you, Sophia.
We mentioned the word structure a lot while speaking, so that's probably the main difference. Like, I know that there should be some structure in your speaking as well, because a good speaking starts with introduction, finishes with conclusion, and so on. But usually during the lessons, we are focused more on the structure while teaching writing. So that's like the main difference.
That's right. Of course, writing is more structured and it requires some organizational skills, yes, like how to organize thoughts. Anything to add? Like some very simple basic differences. I will show you the options that I have here. So of course, accuracy, writing tends to be more accurate because we might proofread the paper, we might correct the mistakes. It's more formal, I would say, because whenever we speak, we use some, extra colloquial phrases or whatever. Of course, writing includes something more like punctuation and spelling. That actually is not necessary like for speaking. Writing is also a means of communication, yes, but whenever we write, we do not have any choice to help convey our meaning, our message, with the help of body language or gestures, like any aid, yes, to help other people understand us. Of course, we have time for planning and organizing thoughts. That's something that you have mentioned. And whenever we write, we don't often, or we don't always receive some instant feedback or response. Yes, so we may write something and send an email or a message to a person, and we should wait for a response or any feedback. Yes, concerning our writing. And very often they say that writing is a lonely skill. What do you think? What is meant here? Speaking is not a lonely skill, but writing is a lonely skill. What does
You
it?
don't need a partner to write.
That's right. But do you need a partner to speak?
Yeah, sure.
You always need a partner to speak. Or I don't know, or maybe you decide to record your speaking, then in this case, you don't need a partner. But with writing, you never need a partner. You usually can do it individually. Okay, why we teach writing? Why do you think? Why we teach Green Country students how to write?
Even at least to organize some thoughts, ideas, especially for young learners to follow the structure, to practice the structure, to use like full sentences,
So
not just simple words.
That's right, of course. Anything else to add? Thank you, Ira.
Because they have tests, like even on Zeno, they have to write some letter or something. So basically in that school, I think they also have that. So
So they need that for tests. Okay.
yeah.
Any other reasons why we
To
teach?
increase general literacy, because we are focused a lot on spelling, punctuation, and so on.
So basically, it's we can say that it's a basic language skill, the same as speaking, listening, and writing. Yes, it is a life skill because in the future they will have to write some reports or emails. They will need to use some electronic media, like they will need to type messages on Telegram or use Gmail. It helps them develop organizational skills. Speaking cannot help them to do that. Yes, we have talked a lot about structure, organization. Yes, so writing helps them to do that. And it helps them to develop logical thinking. Yes, because anyway, when we write, we try to make it logical. Yeah, great. But what makes it difficult for students? I guess you have brainstormed a lot about difficulties. Let me give my difficulties here on the screen. Please look through them. And if you have anything to add, please let me know. So students find writing difficult because very often they do not understand what they need to do. They do not see any connection to their real life. So very often a writing task is not relevant to their life or to them. They find it difficult to organize their thoughts and ideas. So our students are very creative, but it's really hard for them to stay focused and to put all those ideas and thoughts on the paper. Very often they lack grammar and vocabulary, especially beginners or young learners. That's why they do not like writing, because they cannot do that without mistakes, or they lack vocabulary. They have poor spelling skills. That is problem number one, I guess, especially when we started teaching online. Spelling skills are not that like visible, I would say, yes. And that's why more often now students face this problem of poor spelling skills. Very often they feel time pressure. What do you think? What is meant here?
Lack of time. Some students need more time to write.
But how we teachers usually do that in class?
Or assign it as a homework.
Assign it as a homework, that is a good decision here. Yes, not to feel that pressure. But when we want to write in a class, we usually say, okay, 5 minutes, because we are in a hurry. We have only 5 minutes. Please give me a composition about your last holiday. Yes, and they feel that pressure. They have lack of confidence and limited writing experience. Yes, like if we do writing every week, let me say so. Yes, they will have some experience, but usually we have a writing task once in a unit, or maybe even not that often. I'm not sure. I checked all the books that we have, and I found out that, for example, for level A1, we have only one writing in 2 or 3 units. So they cannot have that writing experience because we do not give them enough writing tasks. And of course, they have no motivation. Anything to add here? Any other difficulties that students?
Yeah, lazy.
Lazy?
It's, yeah, like sometimes my older students say, come on, writing. Oh, we are tired. We don't want, we are lazy to do it.
Okay.
Not today.
Okay, let it be something like connected to motivation, but okay, let's write it as lazy. Yes, Lilia, go on, and then Mary.
Again, like boring or lonely skills, so especially for extroverts or extremely active students, it's really, really hard to stay focused there and not to interact with others for, I don't know, 15 minutes.
Because it's individual work, right? Okay, Mary was next.
Yeah, sometimes students struggle with the beginning. They not just like come up with the idea how they should start their task. Like they have the structure, they have the topic, they know what they have to do, but like the first words are usually like they usually take quite a lot of time. And also what I've noticed right now, after these couple of years with COVID, with the remote studying and with war and everything, I noticed students really lack the time of being able to be focused on some task for a long time.
Mhm.
And I see, especially this is with young students, with young learners right now, they struggle a lot. Whenever they have the task, when they have to actually work a lot, or this is the writing task, or they have to write a lot of sentences or something, they are kind of like, I don't know, dying mentally or something. They like sitting, oh, come on, I don't wanna. And it happens all the time with most of the students that age. They cannot just like be focused on this task for that long, for even 7 minutes for one task. For them, it's quite a lot. But at the same time, it's the task that takes that much time. So they struggle a lot being being able to focus on that for that long time. And at the same time, I see how they suffer. And I'm like, so what am I gonna do with this? And I'm always asking this question myself, and I'm trying to cooperate with them, but at the same time, they know that they have no other way to go because they have to just complete this task, but they really, really suffer with this.
That's because they are distracted and the atmosphere around does not foster writing, or what? How can we put that?
That's I wouldn't say it's like that. I would say that they get used to not doing hard tasks at school. Because what I hear from them is that, oh, we didn't have lessons, or we skipped the school, or a teacher didn't come, or we didn't have any tasks to do, or a teacher didn't care. And I see this really, really often right now, even like more often than it was before. So I can see that it becomes kind of like a huge problem with our students in general, with our general education, because like students really cannot work hard enough. They just like got used to doing something easy to be distracted, or just like complete easy tasks that they can, and that's all.
Mhm.
So that's why right now they struggle with writing tasks that much.
Mhm. Because they lack challenges, yes, in studying.
Yeah.
So they got used that everything should be easy and they should do it like in 5 minutes. Okay, I see your point. That is a huge problem. We will think about the solutions. Mary, try to come up with a solution to your problem. Okay, Julia, go on.
I also noticed that speaking about writing in real lives, everybody, even we, when we speak in written form on social medias, we use short messages, and lots of them, they are not long structured sentences, not to speak about paragraphs. So when they need to put their thoughts in one text organized, it seems to be very long, as we also spoken about the time, but also as some of my students just say they don't see how to say the aim, because we as teachers, we understand that it develops logical thinking, it develops like analysis and so on and so forth, but they don't understand it. And even if you say to them that you need it because you will develop your critical thinking, what, especially for younger students, if they are like preparing for their ZNO or something like that, they are more organized and they understand, okay, I will have that writing task on the test, and they are more motivated. But speaking about younger or people who don't need to pass any tests, they say, why can't I say it? Yeah, why do I need to write this? So I really often have this situation, and at this time I try to explain how it's possible, like according to the age and their understanding, why they need this writing in order to help themselves to develop these I would say like deeper thinking or skills like that. So they don't see the aim, they don't understand why they need to do that.
Yeah, they see no aim. I see your point. Okay, so it's quite difficult for me to come up with some solutions. So I would ask you to come up with some solutions. I will not show you any solutions because you have so many ideas and your problems seem more relevant. Let me say not relevant, but more updated. Yes, because some problems are connected with these quarantine things and online shifting to online lessons. So we will be working in groups or again, and your task will be to find this task here in your worksheet. You have it here. Look through the difficulties again and come up with some solutions. I see it might be difficult to come up with solutions to all these problems. Yes, let me add more problems here, but let's come up at least with some. I will put your ideas here too. As many solutions as you can find. All right. So let me give you 3 minutes for that, not more, and let's work in small groups. So we have 16, 14. So it should be, let's have small groups and let's go. Can you see the task? Do you need to find solutions to all these problems?
No.
Ideally, yes.
Ideally, yes, but we will need to do some research to find the solutions to all these problems that you have discussed, as many as possible. Let's go. Okay, 3 minutes for that. Great. Elisa, you should have solutions to all these difficulties. We are here, no?
All the difficulties, solutions for all of them.
Yes.
Uh,
No. Okay, I'm joking because you were the first to come back to the main session. I'm joking. Okay, but Elisa, anyway, would you choose any of these difficulties and share a solution for all of us to know?
Okay, so I'll take the third one. It's hard to organize thoughts and ideas. So first of all, that's a usual problem, I could say. And the easiest way is to pre-teach them with the help of an example, and also show them the structure on how to do that. So the structure is the most important, and to ask them to get ready with a plan. And this plan might help them later to organize all of their thoughts and ideas into a good composition.
A chance to prepare. Very nice. Okay. Any volunteers to a chance to plan? Any volunteers to share another difficulty and another solution? Go on. You had so many ideas in the breakout sessions. Go on, Lilia.
Yeah, so about time pressure, I think the one of the biggest problems sometimes. I have a few ideas. So first of all, sometimes I ask my students only to come up with a plan at the lesson, like a ready-made plan. And that helps a lot because I already can make sure that they know the structure, and that's important. And also they would definitely use some key vocabulary even in the plan, or at least I will ask them to, and I will see if there are any problems with that as well. So that helps a lot. And also I would ask them to make it a bit shorter. So like, don't write it big, write at least 1-2 sentences of introduction, 2-3 sentences of main body, or at least each paragraph of main body. Again, depends on the level. And then 1-2 sentences of conclusion. And when they see these clear numbers, that one sentence, well, it's not a lot. So they start writing and feel less, oh my God, pressure there.
That's right. Yes, like it's possible to write one sentence and like, or 2 sentences in 2 minutes. Yes, and there is no pressure then. Thank you, Lilia, so much. Yes, Yulia, go on.
We were discussing different, but I'm really, this is my pain time, because usually I see that mostly never they can complete all writing tasks on the lesson. And I see the problem here of the structure of our lessons, because usually we have half of lesson a grammar or a vocabulary, and half of lesson is writing, but it's not enough because lots of things to do. And what would be the solution? To change the plan and make it writing all the lesson, and then we could do it. But if we cannot do that and everything stays like here, so I don't see here the problem to give it like a homework. And I really like the idea of that Lila said about preparing plan with them, but also I have with all the students, I have these like documents, yes, individual documents that they have in the folder. And I see when usually they even forget, but if I say that I have checked and I put them some notes there, and also in green I have highlighted positive things that they used to, great grammar, great I know, like linking words or something. They keep here motivation. They keep more motivation because they see that their work was noticed, and so they don't see why do we do it if even nobody is reading that or something. So with time, if it's not possible to change the lesson and like dedicate it all for writing, then, and if they have the homework, it's important to check it, or at the beginning of the next lesson to organize that in groups and let them read to each other, or just pair read their writings to see that they were doing it for something, not just like a task that is not noticed even.
Surely next time they will be more motivated to complete another task, right? Because they see some, the response from the teacher. Thank you, Yulia, very much. Let's choose one more difficulty. All other difficulties will be set as a homework for you. Like, any other ideas? We have poor spelling skills, a lack of grammar vocabulary, a lack of understanding what to do, not relevant.
If they have like a grammar or vocabulary, I usually demonstrate it, or I like refer to self-study where they can find grammar charts, vocabulary. I can make a slide with vocabulary to use, with the grammar structure they can use
Mhm.
and like demonstrate.
Use.
And also in our books, they are great to help because usually we have these tables with useful vocabulary, and we can, for example, encourage them to take phrases that they have used. Sometimes they are given that task, but maybe when it is not in the book, we can say, so try to use at least 5 phrases from this list and
Mhm.
take what you used, and they will be more, I suppose, they will be more concentrated on to use something new, not just what they used to. Yeah, for example, for instance, instead of for example, and so on.
Yes, that's right. Okay, very nice. Thank you so much. Unfortunately, we, as usual, yes, we lack time to discuss all these difficulties, but I really like your ideas on these 4 difficulties, and I guess you come up with some really bright solutions. Yes, if your students face these difficulties. If your students face different difficulties, I guess you need to come up with your own solutions that would be relevant to your students in particular. So actually, sometimes students like find writing difficult because they also, like there is another difficulty, there is another challenge, they also lack writing skills and sub skills. Like they have inadequate, let me say it this way, not enough of some skills and sub skills of writing. Either handwriting or typing. I'm sure young learners are not very fast at typing. It might be difficult for them to type. That's why they find it difficult when you ask them to type something or to write. Then some of them face problems with mechanics. We will discuss it. With grammar vocabulary, we have discussed that. With cohesion, organization, and coherence, some of them do not like revising and editing their own works. Whenever we give feedback, we ask them to correct themselves. Some of them lack those skills. That's why they find it difficult. So let's briefly, you see the skills, the main skills and sub skills of writing. Let's try to match them because maybe we will be talking about them today. So briefly, what is meant by handwriting and typing? What letter is that? We are just revising some theoretical knowledge.
Spelling, punctuation, G.
Any other ideas? Handwriting and typing, what is meant here? What students need to do in this skill?
D, right.
Okay, one, Sasha, yes, that's right. The first one is
D.
D, that's right. Okay, number 2, what is meant by mechanics of writing?
Is it E?
That's not about subject-verb agreement. That's something simpler.
Spelling, no?
G, yeah.
Yeah, spelling. What else? Spelling.
Punctuation.
We teach punctuation and capitalization at Green Country.
Yeah.
We do.
But is it enough, or would you like teach it more often? Because it should be a kind of a habit for a student, yes, to use the correct spelling, punctuation, and capitalization. Okay,
Well,
number 3.
I think it's good enough at Green Country because I had B2 student who didn't know that we should write I from a capital letter. So he came at B2 level, like he didn't study here before, and he didn't know that. Can you imagine?
No, at B2, no. Yes, but yeah, that's great that Green Country students know that I should be capitalized all the time. Very nice. What is meant by syntax and grammar? What students need to be able to do?
Sentence structure, word order, parts of speech.
Right. And they should follow this subject-verb agreement, yes, because it's difficult. Students don't even know that it is called like that, subject-verb agreement, but we as teachers should understand that students should be able to know that. Okay, vocabulary.
A.
A.
That's right.
Yes, that's easy. Cohesion. Okay, I myself also
I guess.
very often I
isn't it?
cohesion and coherence. So what is cohesion?
It's C, isn't it?
Using grammatical and yes, Lincoln. For example, that's when we like write the text with the same verb tense, yes, to make it cohesive, right? To make it logical. Okay, what about organization and coherence?
Headings, paragraphs, F.
That's right. Okay, students should know that writing happens not only in sentences or in one big paragraph, right? But we should split the writing into some paragraphs. What is meant by a skill of revision and editing?
It's B.
So students should be able to correct themselves in writing. We teach them to self-correct in speaking, right? Do we teach them? Yeah, like, I don't know, we use some facial expressions or some even gestures or whatever. We give them a clue, a hint that they need to correct themselves in speaking. We often do that during the classes, so we should do the same with writing. We should teach other students how to correct themselves, how they can correct themselves. Great, so we will not stop a lot here. So basically, we do not teach all those skills and sub-skills separately. Like today, we've decided to teach punctuation, and that is all, only one lesson. No, we teach all those skills gradually, yes. Every lesson, we write something, we ask our students to write. And in this way, for example, we've improved their spelling skills, or we teach them how to form correct sentences. And this way, we improve their cohesion, yes. And there are different writing tasks that we have in our books. Actually, they are divided into two categories. All writing tasks that we are doing, we can divide them into two categories. Of course, I will not tell you what these categories are. I would ask you to come up with an idea how they are called and what is the difference between these two categories. So please find the link in your worksheet. Yes, that's task number 7, or you can scan the QR code if it's more convenient for you. So check the activities in the folder and divide them into 2 groups. And the most important here, think of how you could name these 2 groups, 2 categories. So how many types of activities are there in the folder?
2.
Only 2, yes. And your task is to
Divide them into 2 categories.
categorize, yeah, to categorize them and come up with the names for these 2 categories, right? I will put you into groups to make it faster. So you can start checking these activities, and I will group you into groups. So you can discuss, you can help each other, yes, or you can do it individually if you prefer. Look through the activities and think what are 2 types of activities that we have at Green Country, like at any course. Let me have, so there is still how many? Okay, 14, so 7. Let's go. 3 minutes as usual. Let's go. Lisa, are you here? Lisa. Lisa. So how would you categorize? Lilia, you're the only one here. Sorry, let's wait for others.
We have perfect terms actually, logically connected and logically disconnected.
Okay, share them.
That's it, logically connected and logically disconnected.
These are the terms. Okay, logically connected, logically. Any other guesses? How would we call these two categories? There are two types of activities. Basically, I will show you an example. This activity, yes, it requires writing, right? Listen again and write what the boys have in the fridge. What is the aim of this activity?
To listen and to write.
Yes, to write for sure. By writing, will they use some specific vocabulary?
Yeah.
So basically, the aim might be to practice or check understanding maybe of some vocabulary, right? What about this? Draw your fridge, write what you have in your fridge. Does it have the same aim as the previous activity?
Here you need to use critical thinking, creativity.
Okay. But any, yes.
And here you need to use grammar structure. So there is the right to practice it.
Again, practice it. Okay, but if I show you something like this, is the aim different? Am I restricted, limited by some grammar or vocabulary?
No.
Not actually, because I want my students to write, like to produce, to compose a piece of writing, yes? So any other like names for these two categories, no? Logically connected, I like that. Anything else?
We also were speaking about like it looks like practice production, because first we practice what we are learning during this topic, during this theme, yes, and they use vocab, they use grammar. And if they have production, like writing as production, not just do the task, writing task, but they need to have the composition. So here they needed to produce their ideas in an organized way, and they can use like all the background knowledge they have, not only this limited what they have during this topic.
Yes, not only limited target vocabulary or grammar, right? Yeah, so basically we might have writing for learning and writing for writing, yes? When we're talking, we will briefly discuss it because that's not the point of our today's meeting. So when we're talking about writing for learning, we mean some reinforcement writing, like practicing. We use writing in order to give our students a chance, yes, to remember, to think about new grammar or vocabulary. It's not writing. We do not teach our students some writing skills by doing some activities, because primarily our aim is to practice some grammar or vocabulary, yes? We might have some preparing writing. Then when we ask our students, for example, to write sentences like before a discussion and then discuss those questions. Again, the aim is discussion, is discussing, yes, is using speaking skills, not writing. We do not develop writing skills by that. Or activity writing, when writing is a part of another activity. Like we usually say, make up a dialogue in pairs and then role play. Is writing the aim of such activity? No way, yes? Our aim is speaking, but we use writing as a tool. So when we do such type of the tasks, yes, that is tasks 1, 3, 5, 8, 10, 11, 12, and 15, yes, in the folder. So they are used just as tools. So students need to be able to write to do these activities, but with these activities, we do not teach them how to write, the writing skills, and vice versa. When we have writing for writing, these are skill-focused lessons, where the main aim is to develop in writing skills. And actually, there might be different types of writing tasks, writing lessons that we may have in our classes, like guided writing. That's when the teacher guides to write longer texts in a quite controlled way by providing samples, models, by mentioning the useful language that is need to be used in this type of writing. Sometimes we call this guided writing product approach. Yes, have you heard about that? Yes. And vice versa, we might have process writing. Then when we don't give our students an example, but we ask our students to think what they want to write, when we give them a chance to brainstorm ideas, when they organize their thoughts, when they discuss their thoughts, when they can write the first draft, then give feedback to each other, and then write another draft. We call it process writing. Or something that rarely happens, I guess, at Green Country, that is like unguided writing or free writing. Maybe you've heard such a term, that when we just ask our students to write something without any guidance, we might give them a topic and we give them some time to freely write something. We may develop accuracy and fluency in writing, the same way as we do in the writing lessons. We want to focus on accuracy, we use something like guided writing, product writing. When we want to focus on fluency more, we move to the next, approach, which is either process or unguided writing. So at your homework, your homework was to write something, right? Okay, were there tasks? I will show you those tasks. 1 second. The tasks that you have here, are they about writing for learning or writing for writing? And why?
Writing for writing.
Agree? Does everybody agree?
I haven't checked everything,
Yeah.
but I think, yeah.
That was writing for writing. Have you completed that? Yeah. So
Yeah.
great. So I suggest we reflect on the last activity that you had here. That was reflect on your writing process. Which steps did you take when completing the task? All right. So usually how it happens, yes? The writing process looks like this. We set the writing task as I did it for homework. Then we collect these writing tasks and then we mark them. Like we give feedback, we use correction or responding techniques, yes? But what happens here in between? I want you to reflect on your writing process that you did at home, yes, that you had at home, and come up with other stages of writing process and just compare them in pairs, okay? And be ready to respond as many stages as you can, all right? So what do you think, how many stages can be there in between?
4 maybe.
Let's say at least 3, all right? At least 3, 2 or 3. Okay, let's go. But if you have 4, that's great. Do you know where to find the task?
Yeah.
You can use the worksheet here, or you can use the home task. Let's go. We have 16, 14, then we will have 6. Let's go. 2 minutes, I guess, will be enough. Ready? Okay, everyone is here. So what happens in between? What happens after you got the writing task and before you got it marked? Okay, so what stages did you have?
Well,
Anyone
I
wants to
wrote
share?
I wrote first, it's pre-writing. So it's when we are trying to see what we will be writing about. Like we are coming up with ideas and we're kind of making a plan in our head. So this is a pre-writing. Then we are trying to write something. So it's like drafting, like we are making an approximate story that we are going to have, but we are still going to work on it. Because then we have a revising stage where we are like rereading our text, whatever, and we are editing it and whatever. And the last one, I didn't really know how to give a name to it, so I just named it like editing or proofreading. So either this or that.
Very nice. Okay, I really like these stages. Anything to add? Like I will not show you my stages. These are perfect. Okay, anything to add here?
I would add, or I would maybe develop this pre-writing stage, because there, I think like a few types of even research can be included. For example, you may revise the general info. For example, you write some for and against essay, so you need to memorize like what is the structure of for and against essay. Also, you may look for some additional info on the topic. So for example, you are writing about, I don't know, ecology, maybe you need some recent knowledge, recent data concerning this topic. Yeah, and only after that I would put planning itself, like creating a plan. Once
And
Also,
after that research, you would do planning also here, yes?
yeah.
and
Okay.
also in our group, we were speaking also about this pre-writing stage, that usually students, they refer to the examples we have discussed, for example, at the lesson, because we always read example like text and analyze language that they can use, linking words or something, and they can reread it one more time. After that, choose these words, phrases that they can use in their writing, and it's also in this preparation stage. And after that, they plan what will be in their own like writing text.
So looking at the example and then a kind of language focus, right? That is all happens before writing, right? Agree. What else? You have so many ideas. Anything else? Maybe you would like to divide something here into two separate stages or more? No? Okay, I will show you what I have. Yes. And then maybe we will discuss more in a second. So basically, as I say, the writing process looks like a wheel, and we can come back to any of the stage at any point of our writing process. So we usually start with planning, like pre-writing. So we need to plan in our head or on a piece of paper what we want to write. Then we need to we can make notes, for example. We also think about the audience we are writing for. So we are planning what we want to write. Then we start the first draft. Exits. Usually we actually did at school the first attempt, yes, of what we want to write. Of course, then we come back to this draft and to the kinds of revision, yes, when we review what we have drafted and edit, like correct mistakes, maybe change ideas before writing the final version. Yes, again, that's something that we usually did at home, did at school, right? And sometimes when we read the draft, we understand, no, I don't like the ideas. I need to come back to the planning stage again, yes? Or even sometimes at the stage of editing, you see that your ideas are not connected because, again, you failed at the planning stage. So you can come back at the planning from the editing stage. So they say it happens like this. What do you think? If we're talking about teaching this writing process, this writing lessons, at which stage can we incorporate individual work, and at which stage we should better use pair or group work? What about planning? Should it be done individually or in group?
I think it can be done in groups because it will help them, like they will exchange the ideas. So yeah.
Okay, what about drafting? Individually or in pairs groups? There is no correct answer, by the way. I don't
We
know.
also can do it in groups, and even that's okay. For example, they can divide. You write introduction, I write main part, and after that they read and comment on each other's ideas like that.
I have never thought about that, like dividing
Again,
different parts. Okay,
I think
but
it depends on what we teach them, because if we teach them cooperating more, then okay. But if we teach them structuring it logically, then they should be responsible for all of it individually, probably.
But if we are, okay, yes, I agree with Lilia and with Yulia, but if we are working not on accuracy, but on fluency of writing, we may go with Yulia's approach. It will be something new, I guess, in teaching writing, but I really like that idea. It will not take you much time, that's for sure. That will be the greatest advantage. What about editing? Individual or pair group?
It may be done in groups, by the way. I mean, I have personal experience like this. We working like that at university. In one of the classes, we were editing each other's works because over time, when you reread your own work, you just got plenty of mistakes and you just don't see some obvious stuff. And you also get bored. So sometimes it's a good idea to either do it in groups or just exchange your works and work on some other text.
Individual in that way, right?
Yes, but still not on your work, but on someone else's work.
That's right. Actually, as I would say, there is no correct, like I have checked like a lot of books about teaching and writing. I have not found some like common correct answer at which stage of this or that like writing process you should incorporate pair or individual only work, right? So of course, students can respond to each other's ideas, like Martha has just mentioned, or they can work together during the planning stage in order to collect, to come up with more ideas. Actually, we can add, we can change, we can skip some stages of this writing process. And because of that, due to these reasons, yes, because we can change, add, or substitute, there are two possible approaches to teaching and writing. So in like and they depend on what we change, what stages we like substitute, what stages we repeat. And because of this, we have two approaches. And these approaches are product writing and process writing. So I guess you have heard about them. And I'm sure you know something about them. Or if you haven't heard about them, maybe you have some ideas when you read just the titles, product and process approach to teaching writing. Please go to the Padlet. And you have two sections here, product approach and process writing approach. Please just write the words or phrases, or if you know some terminology or stages that are like relevant to this or that approach, put everything that you know or that you have heard here on the Padlet, and we will check. So what can the following approaches, how can the following approaches be to teach and writing be characterized? The question is like this, and you can see it here on the Padlet. You can put a plus here, I guess you're left. Do you have access to it, right? Yeah, I see you here.
Could you please send the link again?
Yes, sure. You can find it. 1 second. Here. Let me reload it. Maybe I need to. So product writing, focus on the result, ready text, process writing, individual. Okay. Do not Google. We don't have time for that. Okay, add more. Great. So we have product, individual, agree for sure. See in the draft. What is meant by draft here? Okay, let's keep it guided. Yeah, as far as I understood, like some educators use the same term for guided writing or product writing. So they see it's the same, yes, the same approach, but different terms to name it. Focus on the result, individual, focus on the end product, which is a text or a story, completely agree. Let's check process writing. It's collaborative for sure, creative, it includes planning, correct. More stages, 100%, more stages for sure, focus on a creative process, everything is correct. So let's sum up. So these are approaches to teaching writing, and they differ only in stages that we need to take while teaching writing. If we talk about product writing, that's completely correct, that the focus is on the end product, and it should be similar to the model text that we show to our students. So we give the model text, and then we read and highlight some features of the genre or style, and then we give some controlled practice of those features. I will give you an example. Then students do a little bit of planning very shortly. You ask them to organize their ideas, and that is the time to write the draft, the only end product. So it is very short, and actually they call it like the imitation of the model text. So you show them the model, the example, and you want them to do the same, but with their own ideas. Of course, it will not take you a lot of steps, only 4 steps. This approach is very useful for young learners or lower levels because they do not have a lot of grammar or vocabulary knowledge. They're not confident in their writing. So it's easier for them to imitate your example, right? The focus here is also on accuracy. So if you want, for example, to teach higher level students or like adult students, for example, if you want to teach them some formal writing, that is also the correct approach. Because usually when we write emails, they look the same, right? Or if you want them to write a letter of complaint, they're usually with the same structure. So students do not need that much of creativity, right? So even if you have higher level students and you need to teach them some formal writing, it's a good approach to use. You will also say me some other advantages, but it's also time efficient because there are not so many stages and it will not take you much time, right? If we talk about process writing, it's completely different. It includes more stages. Some of you has mentioned that, right? Because we start with pre-writing, which is split into generating ideas by brainstorming and discussion, which happens in pairs or in groups. Then you ask your students to extend their ideas with some supporting examples and take some notes. Maybe ideally they would organize their ideas into a mind map or a spidergram. So it's only the pre-writing stage. And as you see, it's time consuming. Then you ask your students to compose or like write the first draft, like to take this first attempt. And after that, you ask them to revise and edit the first draft. So ideally, you would ask them to exchange their drafts in pairs or groups. Some of you have mentioned that. And give some suggestions to their classmates. Then they need to edit. After receiving feedback or suggestions, they will need to edit their first draft and write the final draft. Ideally, in the process writing, there would be one more step, which is posting the final draft. Yes, I will give you an example today. But anyway, as you see, it is more time consuming because it involves more stages. I will show you in a table and you will see there are up to 10 stages in the process writing approach and only 4 stages in the product writing approach. So process writing is great if you want to develop not logical thinking, but creativity in your students. If you want to focus on their ideas, it is a good approach to use with higher levels, like students who are a little bit more confident in their writing, who can produce some ideas. It would be difficult to ask your beginners to come up with some ideas, right? So you may fail at that stage. And of course, this approach gives students the freedom. If to compare it, like I put it this way, so here in product writing, we imitate a modal text. In the process writing, we do not have any text. We do not show any example to our students. We may use some content, some text, or some audios, videos, only to give them some ideas. So we do not have any modal text. In the product writing, organization of ideas is really important. Not the ideas, but organization of ideas, the structure, the layout. And usually they write only one draft, whereas in the process writing, they have more than one draft. Actually, it's possible if you have time and if you want to try this process approach like completely, you can write not only 2 drafts, but even 3 drafts. So you can redo those stages of revising, editing again and again until your students got a perfect piece of writing. But if you have time for that. In the product writing, we ask our students to use some specific language. Like, again, some of you has mentioned that, like, I want my students to use past simple, or I want my students to use linkers. In the process writing, it's not that important. Their ideas are more important. Product writing, for sure, it's completely individual. Like, I cannot, it might be collaborative, but more often it's only individual work. While in the process writing, it's not possible to do that individually, because at every stage, students are working in pairs. They need to discuss something. So I have told you about these processes, process writing and product writing, and I would like to give you an example. But before that, I suggest we brainstorm the pros and cons of each of these approaches. In your worksheet, you have task number 8. 1 second. And here you need to discuss these 2 approaches and find out what might be the pros and what might be the cons of each approach. While doing that, please consider young learners, like up to step 13. Consider beginners, like even high school beginners. Think about online classes and teaching writing online. And the bad habit of green country teachers is like always being in a hurry when it comes to a writing task. When you lack time, when you are in a hurry, you want to complete everything really fast. And here you have a process approach. Oh my God, you don't have time for that. So consider these 4 circumstances while brainstorming pros and cons of process and product writing. Let's go to the same pairs and let's have 2 minutes for that. Let's go. Irina, Ira, is it you who has joined? You are
Yeah,
yeah.
I was just kicked.
I'm
So-
sorry.
No, everything.
You were working together with Mary, right?
Oh, I don't remember. Maybe, yeah.
Okay, please join Mary. Nastya, I will join you to Maria Stanasiuk, and that is room, 1 sec. That is room 5, because she's alone there. Mm. I see you're still discussing so many, I'm sorry, pluses and minuses, yes, of each approach. Okay, let's briefly share some advantages of product approach. Let me show it to you again. Product. What are some advantages? I told you that it is time efficient. Any other advantages? Any volunteers?
It's perfectly structured, it's easy, and it's not that time consuming, as you said. It can be used with all the levels.
Perfect. And even with young learners. Completely agree. And what are the disadvantages of product writing? Any other volunteers?
Lack of creativity.
What else?
Well, probably if we don't have enough time, this will not work for us because it takes a lot of time. Like, I don't know, like.
Product?
So, yeah, because like I think it takes time for us to come up with ideas or to like organize the ideas. So I'm not sure if we can do it if we have like only 3 or 4 minutes left. So
that's Sophia. Yes, Sophia, that's you.
Yeah.
Okay, I guess product writing is like, anyway, it's faster than process writing because like basically they need to imitate the text, imitate the model, yes? So they don't even so many ideas like to come up with something similar, yes, to the model. What might be the advantages of the process writing?
It's comprehensive. It develops creativity, develops, so it encourages students to use high order thinking skills.
What? Okay. And what about the main disadvantages of this approach? Any other volunteers? Except time consuming. Accepted.
Can be boring.
Wow, why, Sasha?
Because it takes time and students need to write these drafts and they need to read and they need to discuss and they need to edit. So it can be boring for them, like because they're concentrated on one task only. Usually we have different tasks like video, audio, practice, production, speaking, something like this. And here like writing and the full process.
But the writing is only one stage of this process, actually. Only like, okay, they are drafting, they are writing the final draft, but there are other activities like discussing, editing, reviewing, yeah? So, okay, I will not like disagree with you. Maybe it might be boring for some students. So as you see, there are like advantages, disadvantages of each approach. And ideally, what educators, like what other like very experienced teachers suggest, they suggest that we should adapt and mix these two approaches to make it easier for us to understand how is it possible, how it's possible. Yes, here on the screen you can see I put the stages, all the stages for the product writing, all stages for the process writing, and you see there are some similar stages. What are they?
The first and the last stages.
Yeah, and organizing ideas and brainstorming, yes, almost the same stage that we have in the product and in the process writing. Ideally, if we have time and if we have a completely written lesson, a skill-focused lessons, ideally we can follow all the stages. So it's possible. Teachers do that, people do that. So they start with a lead-in, then they move to what? To work with the model text, then they practice some useful language from the model text or some other features like structures or whatever. Then they move to brainstorming, and then they go through all the stages of the process writing, and then they finish with these two common stages, yes? So it's possible if you have some time, you may use all the stages. But it's also possible to take some stages from that approach, to take some stages from another approach, to mix them and have your own writing lesson. So, and at the same time, you can focus on one approach and follow only the stages that is like relevant, only those stages that are relevant to product writing or process writing. I have a question. What type of approach do you usually use? A product, a process, or a mixed one?
With higher level, maybe process more.
More stages.
Mixed one.
Lower levels product, like mixed from time to
Mi-
time.
Mixed, okay. Who uses like only product writing approach? Completely product writing? No one?
With young donors, we
Uh-huh.
all use only product writing.
Do you take any stages from process writing approach when you teach, when you use this approach? No?
Like
Structure,
editing, maybe.
What?
Editing,
your
maybe.
feedback, maybe.
So anyway, you mix, yes? Okay, I know it's time to finish like in 20 minutes, but I suggest we have a short break, like 5 minutes. And then if you have time and desire, please come back because we will have a kind of a writing lesson with you, yes? And we will go through some of the stages. So we will try to use this mixed approach and then analyze. All right, but I will need up to 5 minutes. 1 second, I will stop the recording. So let's look at this picture. Can you see the picture on my screen? Yes, this one. Can you see the lady? Who is she?
Yeah, probably a teacher.
And is she teaching at the moment?
Yeah.
Yeah. mhm.
Can you describe the process of teaching that she is doing at the moment?
She's pointing something.
Any other ideas? Thank you, Sophia.
Drilling something, explain something with the help of pictures. It can be anything.
Okay, great. Are there any students?
Yes, they are in here.
I think they're yeah.
One more time.
They're on her
Online.
laptop, like it's online.
So you think the students are behind the screen, right? Okay, is she teaching online?
Yes,
Maybe, yes.
Okay, great. Do you have anything in common with her?
of course.
We
Okay,
teach
you know.
online.
Yes, go on.
We teach online, yeah.
You teach her online and you dance, you show something, right? Okay, great. I would like you to look at this text. What is the title of the text?
Teaching
Teaching
online.
Teaching online, yes. Your task will be to read the text individually and answer the 2 questions. Lilia, can you read the question, please? Lilia Gerasimbuk.
What is the writer's opinion of teaching online, and what are the main advantages and disadvantages of teaching online?
Okay, so read the text and answer 2 questions. So I'll give you 30 seconds for that. Okay, 15 seconds more. Okay, time is up. So I will put you into pairs and your task will be to answer these 2 questions. Let's go. I will give you 1 minute for that. Because you are teachers. So we have 11, so there should be 5 breakout sessions. How much time do you have?
1 minute.
Let's go. How many questions do you need to discuss?
2.
2, that's right. Let's go. Welcome back, welcome back. Okay, so room number 1, that is Ira, Sophia, and Maria Fadak. Please, what are the advantages that the author mentioned in the text? Any of you, Ira, please go. Okay, anybody else? Okay, Ira is not. What about then room? Okay, let's wait for them. Sorry. Okay. So Ira, can you hear me now? Yes? Okay, so room number 1, Sophia, Ira, and Mary. So what are the advantages of teaching online that the author mentioned in the text?
The advantages is that you don't, as a teacher, you don't need to travel to like some office or something, which saves you like time, and same about the students. Also, it saves like students money if like they live in some areas, like further areas, let's say that. And I think also she was just talking about the flexibility, like how flexible online classes are. You can pick the time, you can pick like a teacher or whatever, anyway.
Okay, great. What about the disadvantages? Okay, sorry. For example, room 5, Lilia and Mary. What are the disadvantages mentioned in the text?
These are technical issues that can cause problems and discourage students, and also lack of face-to-face interaction that prevents from building relationships.
Lack of face-to-face interaction. Okay, great. Does the author use any kind of language to talk about these advantages and these disadvantages?
Yes.
Yes, so can you find these specific words in the text and highlight them? Let me show you how to do that. So you use highlighting, yes, and you highlight words that we can use to talk about advantages with green color, like this. 1 second, and highlight disadvantages with the red color, like this. Can you do that in your worksheets? Yeah, please do.
Yep.
You have 30
Please
seconds.
remind the colors, disadvantages. What color is
Red.
for disadvantages?
Okay, what color do we use for disadvantages? We can go
Red
first.
and advantages green.
Do we need to highlight disadvantages, by the way, or is the language that the author uses?
The language.
Yes, Sasha, we need to highlight the language that the author uses to talk about advantages and disadvantages. Okay, 10 seconds left. Remember, we are teachers. Let's not waste time. Okay, ready? Any reaction? Yes, ready? Okay, Olesya, what language, what phrases or words does the author use to talk about advantages?
The biggest advantage of.
Okay. What
And
else?
just to add in some more information with the help of moreover, and that's it.
So basically only the biggest advantage of.
Yeah.
Does everybody agree?
Yes.
Okay. For example, Maria Fadak, what language does the author use to talk about disadvantages?
On the other hand, then one of the biggest challenges is and other drawbacks.
Okay. Does everybody agree, or we have some other examples? No? Okay, great. So let's look at these phrases here, and let's work individually and fill in the gaps in these sentences. How many gaps do you have?
5? Or
5
no,
sentences,
6.
How many gaps?
6.
5 sentences, 6 gaps.
Gaps, yeah.
What do you need to put into the gaps?
The phrases from the table.
That's right. Okay, let's go. You have 1 minute to do that individually. 30 seconds more. Let's check. So in number one, we have what? Speak up.
The biggest advantage, I think.
The biggest advantage to talk about good or bad things?
Advantage to talk about good things.
That's right. Number two, anybody else?
On the one hand,
On the other hand.
Do we use any articles? On, had.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Very nice. So what article do we use?
definite. Yeah.
Before one and before on the other. Very nice. Do we usually use these phrases in the same sentence? Not always. Okay, on the other. And sorry, it's a little bit bigger than my dictionary.
On the other hand can be used in a separate, but usually if we have on the one, it is followed, but on the other.
That's right. But anyway, we can use them in separate sentences. Okay, number three, Yulia, go on.
There are some drawbacks.
Drawbacks. Okay, what are synonyms to drawbacks?
Disadvantages, cons, negative aspects.
And from the text? Disadvantages and
Struggles, difficulties.
Challenges.
challenges. That's right. Very nice. Number four, anybody else?
Another disadvantage of living in a city.
Another disadvantage. Very nice. Can I say other disadvantage?
Other disadvantages.
Yeah, we need
Another is singular.
Okay, and then we talk about at least two disadvantages. Very nice. And number five?
Despite.
Despite. Okay, despite. What do we use after despite? What part of
Nothing.
we use?
Nothing.
Like noun, despite.
Noun.
Noun.
Despite I meant prepositions
Okay,
because
no.
we have in spite of.
Okay, can we use gerund after despite?
Yeah.
That's right. Okay, very nice. Let me clean it. I suggest you work in pairs again, in the same pairs, and you brainstorm 4 advantages and 4 disadvantages of teaching online. What do you think? Can you name the same advantages and disadvantages as in the text?
Better to come up with others.
Sure. How many? One more time.
4.
What do you think? Do you need to take notes of them?
Yes.
Ideally, yes. So I'll give you 2 minutes to discuss 4 advantages and 4 disadvantages of what?
Teaching online.
Teaching writing.
Online.
Teaching online. That's right. Let's go. 2 minutes. Join the rooms. Mhm. Coming back. Show me any reaction. Do you have 4 advantages and 4 disadvantages? Any reaction?
No.
No, not enough time.
Okay, do you
And
have
it was actually difficult because the main disadvantages and advantages have been mentioned already. So there was nothing else to add.
next time? I promise I will give you more time, but you say I don't have much time. Do you have at least 2 advantages and 2 disadvantages?
Yeah.
Wow, so right. So I suggest I ask you now to choose, if you have 4, to choose 2 advantages and 2 disadvantages that you agree the most with, and write down about the pros and cons of teaching online in 2 paragraphs plus a conclusion, using the useful language that we have just practiced. So how many paragraphs do you need to write?
2 paragraphs.
2. One paragraph for
Advantages,
and 1 paragraph for,
disadvantages,
and what should be paragraph 3?
conclusion.
Conclusion. Okay, you need to write down about, you need to provide some supporting ideas. How do you understand supporting ideas? What is that?
Like examples from real life, or maybe thoughts of other people according to that.
So 1 advantage plus supporting idea, 1 disadvantage plus supporting idea, not more, okay, because we do not have. And what language should we use? Any examples?
Speaking about personal accounts.
The biggest advantage, another disadvantage, you have it here. So you can write here, and I will give you 5 minutes, because ideally you would have not more than, let's have 5 sentences, yes? So I will give you 5 minutes for that. You can write in your documents. Can you see the schedule? Can you see the structure, right?
Yeah.
Great. So 5 minutes, I will set the timer. Let's go. Do you feel that time pressure that we were discussing with you? To the fullest. Okay, try to wrap it up somehow. Sum up. It will not listen to that terrible sound. Okay, ready, right? I will show you in my example. Did you like it? The writing process. Okay.
It was
great.
well structured.
Yeah, it was easy to structure it. Great. So let's try to reflect on your writing. Yes, here below, you see a kind of a checklist. Can you see the checklist below your writings? Can you see it? Can you find it?
Yeah.
So there are 5 statements that we need to use in order to check your writings. And your writings might be perfect. And if so, we put a tick here. If your writing is not perfect and there should be some improvements according to this sentence, we write these possible improvements here. Very short comments. Do you need to look through your own writing or through somebody else's writing? Are you interested?
Think your own.
Are you interested in other advantages and disadvantages that your colleagues were writing about? Yes or no?
Maybe, yeah, but firstly we needed to finish our, I think.
It's okay, like we don't have time for that. So I suggest we look at each other writings. Don't be stressed. I have not opened them and you will not open them. So please, Anastasia, open the worksheet of Yulia. You have access to it. You can edit it and find the checklist. Lilia, go to Olesia's work. Can you find it? Yes. Ira, go to Maria Fedak's worksheet. Sasha, go to Sophia's worksheet. Yulia Bonder, are you here? Yes. So please find a worksheet by Anastasia Nastya-Tichuk. Olesia, find the Lilia's work. Can you see it? Maria Fedak, are you here? Okay, and your cat is here. Yes.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, great. Find Ira's work. And Sophia, you're the last one. Find Sasha's work.
Okay.
Sophia, are you here? Yes.
I'm here. Thank you.
Great. So there is only Maria Stanasiuk, right? Yes. Please check your own writing according to the checklist. All right. Is it okay for you? Great. So you have 1 minute, not more.
Sorry, the task was to write about 1 advantage and 1 disadvantage, or 2 advantages and 2 disadvantages.
2 advantages and 2 disadvantages.
Okay.
That's okay. It was our first attempt. That's okay. Okay, you have 1 minute more. If everything is perfect, just put a tick. Okay, 30 seconds more. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Close the worksheets that you are checking. Yes. Put a smile or hugs and kisses if you want, and close and go back to your worksheet. Do you want to see the feedback or no? From your colleague, yes? Do you want to improve your writing after the feedback? Yes. How much time do you need for that? 2 minutes, enough? Or not? Okay, at least somebody. 2 minutes enough?
I guess yes.
Okay, let's have 2 minutes and improve your writing. Please, by doing that, you can use a blank table, yes? A blank, let's say, space for a new draft, for a new writing, a new piece of writing, or you can make changes to the existing one, whatever you find comfortable for you. Okay, so I'll give you 2 minutes and they start now. Thirty seconds left. We will not listen to the terrible sound if you don't mind. Great. So are you ready this time?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you like your second writing more?
Yeah.
Great. I suggest we focus on some positive things, and I suggest we share the advantages of teaching online on this pattern. I have put my own example here. So please put yours, just put a plus and copy paste only the advantages. Do you need to post any disadvantages of teaching online here? No, only advantages. Okay. Okay, great. When you are ready, you can look through the advantages of your colleagues, of other teachers, and put a reaction if you like these advantages. Can you do that? Yes? Do you know how to do that? Yeah.
What can you repeat? What do we need to do?
If you are ready, are you ready? Have you posted your
Yeah.
answer? Yeah. So you can read through others' advantages, yes, advantages from your colleagues. And if you like them, you can put a like here, like this. I'll give you 30 seconds to look through other advantages, not only yours, but the ones from your colleagues, and react to them. If you want, you can even leave a comment. Like this. Mhm. If you feel like leaving a comment, you can leave a comment. Mhm. Hot paper. That's really funny, but really like that idea. Oh, and who is that? Who is anonymity here? Very nice ideas. Okay, great. Let's finish because we don't have much time. Have you managed to read some of the examples? Yes. Have you liked some of them? Great. So, but not today. We're not here to talk about teaching online, but about writing. You can close all the worksheets, like this one, and let's analyze. So we just came through the writing process, right? How much time did it take us? I want you to
30 minutes, something like this.
Yeah, 30, like ideally it would take us like 30 minutes. Try to think about the writing that you did at home. Was it different from that one? The writing tasks that you had to do at home. If you did it at home, was it different? Okay, which one did you enjoy more?
This
This
one,
one.
Okay, why? There is a
it was
question.
more, yeah, it was more interesting, and so we changed the stages. Not only we were writing, but we were also like editing, revising, yes, correcting us and others. So we got some feedback.
Thank you, Nastya, so much. Okay, what about the end product, the final draft? Which final draft did you like more? The one that you like wrote at home, or the one that you have just finished? Honestly.
This one is better because we understood what's the structure, what we have, what the teacher wants from us. So
Yeah. Okay, I see. For anybody else, was it different? Was that draft that you did at home better? Was better? No? Okay, great. So what stages of process and product writing have we completed right now? Let's look here and let's just brainstorm.
So
Did we have the lead-in? Let me put a tick here.
Yeah.
Okay, so next, modeling.
Yes.
Okay, did we have the modal text, right?
Yes.
Did we practice anything features from the modal text?
Yes, language.
What stages from the process writing did we have after that?
Brainstorming.
Okay.
Planning.
And writing the first draft.
Planning, did we have any planning?
Maybe not.
no.
Yes or no?
No, it was planned for us. You gave us kind of the structure, so we just followed it.
Yeah, so ideally you would have to do it on your own, but I did it for you. So then you wrote the first draft, peer feedback.
Yes.
Did you have any editing?
Yes.
Yeah.
Did you write the final draft?
Yes.
So did you get any evaluation or feedback from the teacher?
Peer feedback.
No, great. So it was a kind of a mixed approach, yes? So I decided to go through like with you because you're teachers, you're advanced learners, so you can do everything fast. So I could incorporate a lot of stages in my writing lesson, right, with you. But if I had to teach some elementary or beginner learners, of course, I would skip something or I would prolong it, not 30 minutes, but maybe 45 minutes. So you see, you can mix, yes, and go through those steps that you find relevant. Think about the modeling. Yes, look at the model of the text, how it is constructed, and what language is used. So I find it relevant to show you an example because it will be faster for you in terms of writing of what I want for you. Right? I didn't ask about the audience because that was not needed. But if you're writing, if your like type of writing task requires that, you can ask students to think about the audience. Then I put you into pairs to make it faster again at the point of brainstorming ideas. If you have time, you can organize buzz groups like mixed students, or you can do it in a way of pyramid discussion. When you first ask students to brainstorm some ideas individually, then you put them into pairs, then you combine pairs into groups, so in a kind of a pyramid, if you have time for that. Of course, I asked you to take some notes, but if you have time, if you want to try, you can try using some online services for mind mapping, for creating spidergrams, again, at the stage of brainstorming, if you have time for that. If you have time, ideally, I would have asked you to share your advantages and disadvantages open class and put everything on the whiteboard, yes, to give more ideas to students. But again, I lacked time, that's why I skipped that stage, right? I didn't do that because of lacking time. I set the timer, I reminded you about the time, so that is very necessary for the stages of writing the first draft and peer feedback, editing, and writing the final draft. So I used the timer, so please do the same. And of course, I gave you a kind of a checklist so that you can check your partner's writing. Right? 1 second, I will clear. Do you have any other questions about the writing that we have just did with you? What stages could we add more?
It's just about the time that we just needed more time, that's all.
But did you need as teachers, in terms of this writing that we just did you need any other stages?
Like right now, we don't have the feedback individually from the teacher, so we would require that too, because like one thing is when students are peer checking, but not everybody can see all the mistakes of somebody else. That's why the feedback from teacher is also they're very important. I'm sorry, my head is blowing up right now. I'm sorry.
That's right, feedback from teacher, and I completely agree. So when you give feedback to your students, we usually do it in a way of responding to the content of the writing and correcting, yes? So we may respond, actually, while you were writing, I could monitor and I could help you, yes? I could respond to your writing while you were doing the first write. I didn't do that because of lack of time again, and because I know that you are teachers, and I know exactly that I included peer feedback, so it was not that necessary. But if you need that, you can do that with your students. Or I could even go to your documents and leave some written comments at the stage of first drafting. Again, I didn't find it necessary because the situation we have now. But if you find it relevant to your students, you can do it at the stage of first drafting or even at the stage of creating the final draft. That is your response. And not only about the mistakes, but about the content. For example, Nastya has forgotten there should be 2 advantages and 2 disadvantages. Yes, I could come to Nastya's document and remind her with the help of a written comment. It's not correcting, it's responding. Ideally, I would have to read all your writings and write a very nice comment. I like your ideas or whatever. But I did it in the way of posting. I asked you to post all your writings, and in this way, you got a kind of response to the content, right? Some other teachers liked your advantages. I left some comments. So you can do it this way. Again, I did it this way because of lack of time. Of course, when you correct, you can choose selective correction. For example, I was focusing at the useful language. I checked your understanding of form of this language. I asked you about the articles, about what should we use about after despite. So I might, for example, if I wanted to check and correct your works, I would pay attention only to the usage of this useful language. Or for example, if we have discussed punctuation, I would choose only punctuation for checking. So you can use the same. Or you can use the correction cost, like that's a very famous type of correction technique, yes. But be careful because actually, have you ever tried using that? Like honestly, has anybody used it?
Yes, yes.
Sasha, you used it? Yes?
We had a meeting with teachers about that, yeah, in our office.
Uh-huh.
And
So,
we were supposed to use, yeah.
and do your students know the meaning of all the symbols?
I created a presentation
For students, right?
for students, yeah, so they can see the meaning.
Hmm. Then the final question to Sasha, after marking a piece of writing, have you ever asked for an edited version from a
Yeah, they corrected and I saw that they were able to correct and they were surprised like how stupid the mistakes were sometimes.
Okay, we should clap for Sasha because actually, Sasha, the great job because teachers rarely do that because it requires so much time and effort. Yes. Okay. Anybody else? Has anybody else done something like Sasha? No. No
Yeah,
one?
but not with this code with the colors. It was another technique. Yeah.
We could use any and colors and numbers and letters.
Okay, that's great. You can also, yes, I put some other correction techniques. So you can look through them. For example, I like this one. You can just refer your students to some dictionaries or grammar books, especially when you check something online. You can easily use Google Docs comments, yes, and refer students to a grammar book or maybe even to a self-study, yes, to help them check their mistake. Very often, what we do at Green Country is remedial teaching. I hope I do not mispronounce this word, but it's a kind of summative feedback when we collect the most common mistakes from all students. Yes, we check their writings and then we do it in a kind of a later correction or like boarding. Yes, putting the mistakes on the board and doing in the way of open class feedback, open class eliciting and correcting the mistakes. But also, as we have done with you now, involve peer review and self-edit and self-correction to your writing lessons. Be careful because like even peer review might have some disadvantages. How did you feel when you like found out that some other teacher, another teacher would open your writing and check it? How did you feel? You didn't care about that? Doesn't matter?
Yeah.
I love it. I always, for me, it was always very, very useful to listen to others' comments on my work, as it was like, I don't know, like looking at my lesson and then telling me something, because it was always useful. When I used the advice, it helped me to improve. And this is something you cannot see on yourself, just even if you are reflecting on what I did, it's impossible because this is another person, another approach, is another way of looking at everything. So I find it really nice thing.
Okay, that's great.
It's motivating actually. So, but you should have mentioned it before, so we would have done our best.
That's Nastya. That's something that I wanted to hear from you because, like, I would feel a little bit embarrassed, to be honest, if I knew that another person would open my piece of writing. Actually, that's something that, yes, I agree. That's something that you can mention if you find that your students might not be satisfied with such type of work. Yeah, so it might be a disadvantage if your students feel embarrassed like I do. And of course, the quality of the feedback may be questionable, yes? So do not realize that much. Always have that final stage and any type of writing that is teacher's feedback and teacher's correction, yes? Because students, they are also learning, so they will not give like the whole feedback. And of course, use checklists or a comment form. That's something that I discovered for myself. We know how to use the writing checklist. Yes, you had the training about checklists, so you can create the one that you had, like the same as you had for the homework assignment. Yes, or you can create the one that you had just had in your like at the workshop. But you can try to create something like comment form. It will maybe relevant to more advanced learners, but it doesn't look like a checklist, but it looks a kind like a comment or a short letter, a short response to a student. So actually, that is all for today. If you would like to practice, yes, it's not very like if we check our books at Green Country, there are not so many writing tasks, like we rarely have them. I have found some for you. If you are interested, yes, in checking, you know a lot about writing now. So if you are interested in checking these writing tasks, so you can just open any of these writing tasks and answer this question, yes? Think what stages would be relevant from a product or a process approach to be applied to this or that task, yeah? So what stages would you incorporate? What stages would you miss? Or maybe you would decide to use a product writing approach completely, yes, without integrating any stages from the process approach, or vice versa. So these are the writing tasks that actually you can find for different levels. You have this task in your worksheet, so you can do that at home individually. And of course, if you decide to do some more in-depth research about writing, I do recommend these two books to you. How to Teach Writing by Jeremy Harmer. This author has a series of books about everything: how to teach pronunciation, how to teach writing, how to teach vocabulary, or whatever. So if you want to do some in-depth research about writing, especially about different types of feedback, about writing skills or sub-skills, I do recommend this book to you. Or if you want to read something in very simple language, you can read the same author, but another book, English Language Teaching. It's very simple, it's very short. If you look for some extra writing activities, you can search on the internet, there are a lot of them, or you can use this very famous book, Time Saver Writing Activities. They are relevant to elementary intermediate students. And there is a very nice recorded workshop by British Council. It is, again, very straightforward, without any details, without extra blah, 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 but very short and very clear about the difference between process and product writing. So you can find it on YouTube and watch it individually whenever you have time. I will stop the recording.